Hi there, this is Praying Medic, and this is my news update for Saturday, January 13th. Thanks for joining us. So much news going on. Lots of news. Actually, there isn't all that much news. But, I'm going to give you what I've got anyway, just because that's how I am. Yes, Brother James survived the nuclear attack in Hawaii. Thank you, Lord, for keeping our brother James and all of his friends in Hawaii in one piece. Um, yes, the false alarm on the incoming missile alert. Everyone is looking into it. They're all wondering, scratching their heads, was it operator error? Was it an intentional thing? We don't know. No one was hurt. It was a false alarm, evidently. Don't believe there were actually any missiles that came in. It sounds to me, from what I've heard, that it was actually just a false alarm. Um, I don't know that there's any. I don't know that there's any reason to believe there was anything that actually happened. Probably just some people have said it was human error. Some person pushed the wrong button. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, and now there's some are saying that it was a test. I doubt that it was a test because there was messages being sent out that said this is not a test. So somebody screwed up. Somebody will be entered into the disciplinary process probably. Um, and those things are usually human error. All the conspiracy theorists will be out there with their ideas, but it's probably just human error. Someone probably pushed the wrong button. It happens. I've done it. All right. So to the news. Breaking news. Chelsea Manning, the transgender Formy Armor intelligence analyst who is convicted of leaking classified information, has filed to run for the U.S. Senate in Maryland. So that's a story that just broke a little while ago. President Trump has been tweeting and talking about the Democrats and DACA. And he's essentially saying that the Democrats are kind of screwing up their chance to get DACA. He's basically saying, look, if you really want the Dreamers to stay around, you better figure something out because you're not being serious about this. You're messing up your chances. And the president has not been impressed with the way the Dems have handled the negotiations. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. They have until March. The current protections run out in March. They have to figure something out. It's up to Congress. They have to pass a bill. And the president is like, look, you give me what I want, I'll give you what you want. And the Democrats are like, no, flip the chessboard over, call Trump a racist. And, he says they're not negotiating in good faith. So, so they've got problems. A little reported on move that is going on in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Chuck Grassley on Thursday and Friday sent 28 judicial nominees to the Senate for confirmation. Did you hear about that? Grassley is kicking butt and taking names on getting judicial nominees rammed through the Senate and appointed to different courts. I think Grassley's doing an amazing job. So yeah, 28 more judicial nominations are going to the Senate. Went to the Senate by the end of this week. We'll see how that works out. The Dow Jones closed up 228 points today. Stock market is on fire, which is really good for your 401k. All right. So everyone has been waiting for all these indictments to open up. People have been looking around, checking. They have all these, supposedly sealed indictments all over the different courts around the country. Yesterday, this article is from the DOJ website, an indictment against a former co-president of the Maryland-based transportation company, Transport Logistics, was indicted on, and I'm just going to read this for you. The indictments were unsealed for his alleged role in a scheme that involved bribery of an official at a subsidiary of Russia's state atomic energy company, Rosatom, which is the company that purchased Uranium One. Mark Lambert, who is the co-founder of the company, was charged in an 11-count indictment with 1 count of conspiracy to violate Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, the FCPA, and to commit wire fraud, 7 counts of violating the FCPA, 2 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of international promotion of money laundering. The charges stem from an alleged scheme to bribe Vladimir Mikurin, the Russian official at Tenex. Tenex is the U.S. subsidiary of Rosatom. Mikurin is serving a 4-year sentence in jail for his involvement in the bribery and the kickbacks. So, something to note. In June of 2015, Lambert's former co-president of Transport Logistics, Darren Condry, pled guilty to the same charges. Condry is awaiting sentencing. Okay, he pled guilty to the same charges that Lambert was just charged with, and he has not had his sentence yet. And that means that the Department of Justice is squeezing him for information. His sentence will be based on the information he gives to prosecutors. They're using his former partner to get information on everybody in the operation, in the Uranium One operation. And the deal with Transport Logistics is this. When this story was reported on by the mainstream media years ago, one of the narratives they put forward was that, this hype and hysteria about Uranium One transporting uranium out of the country is unfounded because Uranium One doesn't have a license to transport uranium. Well, they contracted with Transport Logistics, who did have a license to transport uranium internationally. That's how they got around it. So it is looking like the Uranium One folks it's heating up, and Lambert is a pretty big fish. So I would imagine we'll see more indictments out of that as the people start talking and squealing and ratting each other out to try to get their sentences reduced. Because it's a matter of who is going to talk. Whoever talks gets their sentence reduced. Whoever doesn't talk, they go away for a long time. Yes, Hillary will eventually be wrapped up in all of this. You wait. Just wait. Just wait. Hillary and everybody else who's wrapped up in this are all gonna. I would be surprised if a number of people inside the Obama administration do not end up taking a fall for this. They all were kind of complicit in letting this happen. So there was Obama has his problems. Just wait. It's going to take a while for the truth to come out about what the former president did. Just chill. It'll come out. Julian Assange tweeted out a mysterious chessboard last night. I retweeted that. I wasn't sure what it meant. Some people are like, oh, Assange is just, hey, it's checkmate, it's chess, it's whatever. Jerome Corsi noted, and someone probably tipped him off to this, there's people that study chess. They study famous chessboard positions, chess moves, and things of that nature, opening moves. Someone noted that it is a famous chessboard setup from Capablanca versus Marshall. This is a chess match from 1918, where the white wins the match with a sleeping rook that is freed. Corsi is interpreting that as the white rook as Assange leaving London. The white king, symbolized by Trump, wins against the black side, which is the deep state, after their opening attack failed. The white side puts the black king in checkmate. So, for what it's worth, It's all speculation, but it is interesting that he tweeted out a chessboard last night. Now, the FISA 702 is scheduled to go, the 702 Act expires January 19th. It has to be renewed or it sunsets. The House passed a reauthorization of the 702. It is going to the Senate next week for a vote. It will probably pass. Rand Paul has threatened to filibuster the vote, but he kind of positioned himself, from what I'm understanding from Chad Pergram, our guy on Capitol Hill. Rand Paul kind of screwed things up, and he didn't get himself in the right position from a procedural standpoint to actually do a filibuster. And so it's looking like the FISA 702 will be reauthorized. Now, some of us are concerned about that. Devin Nunes said he has seen abuse of the 702, not against foreign citizens, but against American citizens. And he says he's going to share the evidence that he has uncovered with the entire House of Representatives later this month, after they've got this thing reauthorized. Nunes is actually supporting reauthorization of the 702. So my position on this whole thing right now is the president is in support of this. The president feels he has taken the necessary steps to protect American citizens from illegal spying due to the 702 program. It has been abused. And we do not understand how badly it's been abused, and that is about to come out. I'll talk about that in a minute. But Trump signed that presidential directive to his director of national intelligence, telling all intelligence agencies they have to develop a comprehensive plan that outlines how they are going to respond to requests for intelligence on U.S. citizens. That is one safeguard he's put in place. The other safeguard is they have done away with the FISA 702 about queries. Now, people have been asking me what this is all about. We talk about the FISA and the 702 and the about queries and the number 17. What is that all about? All right. So Sundance from Conservative Treehouse posted a very helpful article last night that explains all of that jargon, all the numbers and what it all means. It's very helpful. I'll tell you what I learned. So FISA stands for Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. It's the congressional act that authorizes the NSA database to be used to do surveillance on citizens. 702 is an American caught up in the process of foreign surveillance. That's what a 702 means. Now, I've talked about 16 and 17. 16 is a search query where you enter like a name into the database, into the NSA database. And it is a to and from entry. So if you put in a name like John Smith and you use a number 16 entry, it's only going to return messages where John Smith is in the to or the from field. That's a number 16 query, to and from. Okay, so obviously if you're accessing the FISA database and you're only looking for correspondence with a to or a from field, it's going to return a fairly small number of hits on that query. Number 17 is the about query. Instead of having messages to where it's just to or from that name, an about is you just put in anything that mentions this person's name. It's about. Is there any correspondence, emails, text messages about this person? That returns a large string of data where anytime that name comes up, whether it is, casual conversations, this person was at a bar, someone wrote a book about this person, if you just enter the string about this person, it's going to give you a massive data return, lots and lots of information you can sift through. Two people talking about this person going to the store, an email where this person's name is mentioned, anything like that, it all comes up. That's the about query, and that's number 17. That is the query that has been abused in the past, and that is the one that Admiral Rogers shut down. When he was doing his compliance investigation over the abuse of the database, he found out that the about queries were being abused, and he shut it down permanently, and they have not been able to use that since then. So that that has been addressed, and that it's unlikely that that will be abused in the future. So those are part of the safeguards that the president has talked about. He said, look, we need this information. We need to be able to access it. And so it looks like the FISA 702 will be accessed. And let me just give a little bit more explanation on this because people are curious. So I did a thread on Twitter yesterday, and if you want to go look at it, you can read through it, where I explained how the FISA database is accessed. And I basically explained that how you do a search using the FISA database, which is provided to the FBI and the DOJ by the National Security Agency, is dependent upon what agency you work for, the type of investigation you're doing, and the type of person you are investigating. So essentially, if you are investigating a criminal it's a criminal investigation on a U.S. citizen who committed bank fraud, for example, you cannot access the database unless you get a warrant from a judge. You have to show probable cause. You have to fill out an affidavit, go to a court, get a judge to sign a warrant, and then you can access the database and get information on that person. Because they're a U.S. citizen and they're protected from unreasonable search and seizure. Now, if that's a criminal investigation. If you are looking at if you're looking at a foreign citizen and you have reason to believe that that foreign citizen is about to blow up a bank or is about to crash an airplane or is plotting a terrorist attack at a nightclub, if the person is a foreign citizen and if you have reason to believe that they pose a clear and present danger to national security, you can access the database, you can do a query, you can get information about them, and you do not need to get a warrant from the FISA court. Because there is an understanding that if it is national security, that you don't want to take the time to have to fill out an affidavit, get supervisors to sign it, take it down to court. You need to act on it right away. So the way that it is drawn up, if the person is a foreign citizen and if they're an immediate threat to national security, you do not need a warrant. Okay, that is really the only case in which you don't need a warrant to access the database. In every other, now, I'll just say this, if that foreign person was simply making phone calls between them and an American citizen about some bank transactions or whatever, and you can't really prove that they're a threat to national security, then you would go to FISA court. You'd fill out the application and you get a warrant, or you don't even really get a warrant. You get an approval to make a query is what it is. The term warrant is really kind of a misnomer. The FISA court authorizes you to make a query into the database. It's a query approval. It's what it really is. So how you access the database depends on the type of investigation you have going on, the type of person the target, the type of person that you're looking at, and the agency that you're working for. If you're in counterterrorism, counterintelligence, if you're involved, if you're in a DOJ or FBI and your job is national security, you have a much more leeway in looking into the database. If you're just working in a criminal division, or if you're working for some other division that doesn't involve national security, you're almost always going to have to go get a warrant before you access the database. So the thing that we found out, this is what Sundance has found through digging, is the FBI was allowing private contractors to access the FISA database, getting raw intelligence information on U.S. citizens, not only without a warrant, we're talking private companies here. So legally, it's only government agencies that are allowed to access the database. The FBI was allowing private companies to do it. And Sundance posted this. There's a document. It's from the FISA court proceedings a couple of years ago. And it's a long document. It's like 100 and some pages. And Sundance was plowing through this and found a page where essentially the FISA court had discovered that the FBI had been allowing private contractors to go in and access the database without a warrant on American citizens. They were able to gather raw intelligence, and they were using that raw intelligence for nefarious purposes. Okay, this is the kind of thing the FBI has been doing. And this is the kind of thing that the mainstream media is not reporting on yet. They don't want to touch this. This is so this is the lid to Pandora's box. This isn't the biggest deal. What's behind this is even worse, because if they did it once, it's likely they were doing it a lot, and they just got caught this one time doing it. CrowdStrike, right? So Sundance is kind of working on the theory that the FBI allowed Fusion GPS, probably, to access the FISA database, gather information. They would take the information, create a dossier, give the information to Christopher Steele, who would then doctor it up, add his own information. They would then hand that back to the FBI. The FBI would go to FISA court and get a warrant or a query approval to go back and do more intelligence gathering on the Trump team. But it looks like the FBI gave access to private contractors to the database to gather the information, from which they would go back to the database and get more information. It's crazy. And look, here's the thing. We don't know who the private companies are. We don't know if it's CrowdStrike. We don't know if it's Fusion GPS, but those are the two companies that were on the payroll of Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie is the law firm that was retained by the DNC, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and John Podesta. All the big name Democrats and the DNC, they all use the same law firm. And that law firm pays all these agencies. They hired CrowdStrike. They hired to do the investigation into their server hack. They hired Fusion GPS. So they all keep it kind of under one roof. We don't know the facts, but the facts are coming out. This is what we're learning. And look, I'm going to end with this. Sean Hannity and Sarah Carter and John Solomon, they're following this stuff. They are reading Sundance's articles. They're aware of what Sundance is doing for research. Sundance is breaking the trail. Sundance is on the leading edge of where this is going. They are, the big name reporters are 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month behind where Sundance is. And here's the bad thing. They know what Sundance is reporting on, but they're not allowed to report it themselves. They can't. It's too dangerous. This information that's coming out is so explosive. It is so dangerous. The mainstream media will not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Fox isn't going to touch it. That is why they're dancing around the issue of, oh, did Fusion GPS dossier, was it used to get a FISA warrant? Well, yeah, it was, but that's old news. We were talking about that a month, 5, 6 weeks ago. Sundance has gone farther down the trail, and Fox is way back there, and Sarah Carter, and they're like, their hands are tied. They know what's going on, but because they're funded in a certain way and they have producers who have an agenda, they are not allowed to report on this information. Even though they know it's going, they're watching, they see it, they can't report on it. So if you want to be on the cutting edge, follow Sundance and Conservative Treehouse. Sundance posts several articles a day on conservativetreehouse.com. Sundance is on Twitter as @TheLastRefuge2. And I have been following Sundance because I had a dream 2 nights ago. I had another dream about Sundance. Well, it wasn't a dream about Sundance. It was about FBI and Fusion GPS, strangely enough. And I forgot about this dream. In the dream, I was looking at a Twitter timeline and I could see 2 tweets that when I saw them, they made me I was just taken aback for a bit. I was like, there's something odd with these tweets. I don't know what is wrong with these tweets. And as the dream progressed, I realized the tweets were about the FBI and Fusion GPS. And I'm not joking. In the dream, the FBI had created a roof to protect Fusion GPS. They had basically created a roof where Fusion GPS came underneath this roof for protection. All right. And what else did I see in the... and then at the end of the dream, I heard the words, "They were paid, but not in the way you think." And I was like, what does that mean? And then I woke up, I wrote the dream down, and then I realized that is a quote from something Sundance had written the night before. Sundance had written an article saying, Fusion GPS was paid, but not in the way you think. They coordinated with the FBI, but not in the way the media has been reporting. So God has been giving me little breadcrumbs to follow. And so Sundance is on the right trail. And I'm just going to keep following Sundance. I am learning a lot. As I learn, I will keep you all updated on Periscope and on Twitter. This is a group project. Sundance is doing it. Trump Soldier is doing it too. There's a lot of people that are researching it. We're all doing threads. We're putting our heads together and trying to explain it so the average person can understand it. Sundance is the last refuge. Yes, the last refuge on Conservative Treehouse. The Horowitz report. I totally spaced that out. The 1.2 million documents from the Inspector General's report, the investigation into the Department of Justice and FBI, the 1.2 million documents started to be released last night. The Department of Justice put it out. Chad Pergram tweeted it out. The documents are being released. So let me get you up to speed on that. Let me talk about the OIG. The Inspector General's report is not due out till March or April. Hey, baby.
I'm home.
She's home. Hey, everybody. You look awesome.
I was at the
Are you
Home and Garden show.
Are you tired?
Yeah.
She's tired. I'll have to make you some dinner. All right. The Inspector General's report is not due out until March or April, but the 1.2 million documents that they compiled during their investigation, that is being released to the House Judiciary Committee. It will go to the DOJ, and then it'll go to House Judiciary. We are expecting that Goodlatte and his buddies in House Judiciary are going to call for a second special counsel to look into what's going on inside the Department of Justice and FBI. And they need the 1.2 million documents as evidence so they can then request a special counsel. That's kind of where we think this is going. We're going to get a special counsel, a second one out of this. And the DOJ and FBI are going to be investigated by a special counsel. That is where we think this is heading. And Horowitz released the documents early. They weren't supposed to be released until Monday, and we got them on Friday. So that's where that's at. Do you guys have any, gals, have any questions? All right, let me give you where I think this is going to go. House Judiciary Committee is going to call for an independent counsel, a special counsel, to investigate the DOJ and the FBI, the politicization of the FBI and DOJ. What does that mean? That means people like Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Sally Yates are going to be investigated. Their criminal activities are going to be investigated. Those are the big names that when the House Judiciary Committee calls for a special counsel, they're going to go after Mueller, Comey, Yates, Lynch, Holder, and all the other people in the FBI and DOJ. That is when the real big names are going to face trouble. They're going to be investigated for criminal activity. So yes, I think big names are going to go down because the next step is the special counsel is going to investigate all of the weaponization of the FBI and DOJ. That's where you're going to see the big names come down. That and the fact that Sessions is currently doing investigations into the Clinton Foundation and into Uranium One. So we have all these investigations going on, and it's going to take down some big fish. Yeah, typically what they do is they go for the low people first. They get them on whatever they've got that they've done wrong. They'll get them to rat out people above. They'll leverage that testimony to go for bigger people. They'll leverage that testimony to go for bigger people. That is sometimes, according to Andrew McCarthy, that's usually how they do it. They go for small players, get them on a charge, get them to plead, and then they get them to cooperate with the investigation to rat out people above them. That's usually how it goes. So you just have to sit tight and wait and watch, see what happens. So with all these investigations going on, you're going to see a lot of people go down, I think. I believe so. Yeah, and look, you got to have your ducks in a row. And that's what Sessions has been setting up the chessboard. For the last year, Sessions and Rosenstein have been setting up the pieces, putting the pieces in place, putting the people where they need to be, doing behind the scenes investigatory work. Trump has been putting out executive orders to help them freeze the assets of the big players. It's a very coordinated, organized effort. And I'm sorry if you're tired of waiting for big people to get, handcuffed and perp walked. You're just going to have to wait. They're setting it up. The storm is here. It's here. Go to the store, buy some butter, buy some popcorn, get some salt, get ready to make your popcorn because it's going to be popcorn time. The script is going to get flipped on the media because a lot of them have been paid off by certain entities, and that is going to come out. A lot of reporters have been paid off, and that dirt has not yet come out. You're going to see that very soon. In fact, when Trump does his fake news awards, I wouldn't be surprised if he outs a few reporters who have been paid off. It's going to be entertaining to watch the mainstream media just get clobbered this year by Trump. All right, that is all. I'm going to let you all go. I love you. You're amazing. For those of you who are supporting me financially, thank you. There is a PayPal link on my Twitter page and on my Periscope. If you go to my Periscope profile, I have my little PayPal if you want to throw me some coffee money. I love it. You're cool. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being patient with me as I do my research. I will catch you on the next broadcast.